Hey, Brian. Hey, guys.
Hello.
All right.
Hello.
Hey. Oh, Tony Ann, I have to move you. You should be resigning. Hi, Tony Ann.
Good evening. How is everybody?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Hello.
I see 3 cases on the agenda. Am I right for tonight?
Yep. We have 3.
I didn't actually get like an agenda that has everything on it. I just got the different cases, which is fine. I can put it together.
Okay. I can actually, if you want, I can forward you a copy of it.
Probably a little bit helpful if you do.
Yeah, no
You
problem.
want my email address, Maggie? It's typed
Yeah.
for you. Typed for you?
Yeah, it should pop up.
Okay.
I'll let you know if not. Okay.
Janelle, that was quite the first night that you had last time.
It really was. Well, Tony, and the meeting in between that Bridget did went just as long.
Did it really? Oh gosh.
Hopefully we'll be in for a shorter night.
Oh, it is what it is. I had a long day, so what's the difference at this point? Why should it be? Why should my night be any different, right? She's having a long day too.
Hopefully you stay alive on just adrenaline.
That's what they make Diet Pepsi for.
That is fair. I'm more of a 6 p.m. coffee kind of person.
Oh yeah, coffee?
All right. Give me just a sec. I'll send it over to you. Paul is also having some issues getting on. All right, Tony Ann, I just sent you a copy of the agenda.
Thank you so much.
No problem. All right. 1, 2, 3. we're waiting. We need at least one more person. I know Paul is working on getting on. And I know Tony is coming as well. There's Tony.
Thanks, Maggie. I got it already.
Awesome. Hey, Tony.
Hey, Maggie.
All right. We're just waiting on Paul and then we can get things started. All right, Paul is still having some trouble, so we can go ahead and start the meeting because we do have a quorum in the meantime.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
All right, is everyone ready?
Tony, any good?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. All right, it's 6:39 p.m. and I'm calling this regularly scheduled Jersey City Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order.
Please be advised, notice of this meeting was provided to the Jersey Journal, the Jersey City Reporter, and Ellis Basalito on Thursday, I'm sorry, not Thursday, Friday, November 12th, in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of the time, date, and place of this meeting was also provided to the clerk's office to be posted outside the bulletin board in City Hall, as well as on the Jersey City website. I have proof of notice here in evidence. We can mark this as B1. Move to a roll call. Commissioner Gucciardo is absent. Commissioner Lewis?
Here.
Commissioner Sakong is absent. Commissioner Amatuzzo is absent. Commissioner Tagliareni is absent. Commissioner Gordon?
Present.
Okay, Commissioner Gunther?
Here.
Okay, Commissioner Gibson is absent. Vice Chair Sankamp?
Here.
And Chairman Blazak.
Here.
Okay, there are 5 members of the commission in attendance. Five affirmative votes are needed for a certificate of appropriateness. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from October 25th, 2021. So I didn't realize until about 6 p.m. today, the security control was left toggled on the data portal. So I don't know if anyone was able to access to them in the 20 minutes before the meeting. I'm going to assume no. Okay. So then should we just carry them to the next HPC meeting?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
Make a motion to carry the minutes of the October 25th meeting to the December public meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Copies of correspondence, all application materials are listed on tonight's agenda and linked on tonight's agenda. At this time, staff has no announcements. If there are any members of the public who would like to speak regarding general matters of historic preservation, you can use the raise hand function or *9 on the phone. Oh, okay. We do have someone who'd like to speak. All right. Can we have a motion to open public comment?
Motion to open
Motion,
public
Sankamp.
comment.
Right, I heard Tony.
Second.
Okay, I have Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Amanda, I will promote you to address the commission. Once you're promoted on the screen, we'll swear you in, and then you'll be able to address the commission for a maximum of 3. Ryan, is it 3 minutes?
I believe so, right? 3 minutes?
I believe that's what public comment is.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Amanda. We're just going to swear you in quickly.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay.
Thank
And then
you.
could you state and spell your name for the record, please?
Amanda Evison, Amanda Evison.
All right. Your 3 minutes starts.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I just had a question about project H21-342. This is 278 6th Street, and I'm the homeowner. We made an application to this commission on July 13th of this year, and I'm just wondering when we can expect a response to that application under review.
Okay, so the general commissioners don't see the day-to-day application log except for what is publicly posted, but give me a moment. I'll pull up our log and see what that says.
Thank you.
Sure. I'll also pause your time while I do this. Okay, so that one I have listed as an incomplete checklist being provided in August. And it looks like our internal notes say that we needed some more information about the pediment relief that was going there.
Okay, and how do I provide you that information? I hadn't heard that there was any information requested.
Okay, why don't I take down your email and I'll forward you a copy of the checklist.
Okay, that would be terrific. I can put it in the chat.
Sure, that works.
Amanda.Evison, the same spelling as my name, @gmail.com.
Okay, so I will send you a copy of that checklist tomorrow morning.
Okay,
And if you do not get a copy from me by noon, I will put my email in here as well as Sarah's. And you can bug us and remind us to do that.
thank you so much.
It usually just means that we had a phone call. All right.
Thank you.
So I get you that information. That's for the commissioners. That's the firehouse on 6th Street. So that, I don't know if that requires full HPC, but that's what that building is.
Thank you.
All right. No problem. Do you guys, do you have any other questions while you're here?
No,
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming out.
thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other members of the public in attendance who would like to address the commission? All right, seeing no hands raised, yeah, okay. Seeing no hands raised, staff recommends a motion to close public comment.
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And staff also notes for the record that Commissioner Amatuzzo has joined us at 6:47 p.m. Paul, good? Can you hear us?
Yep, I'm good. I'm good. Yes, thanks.
Awesome. All right. So I think, Brian, that brings us to our first case.
Okay. We have item 9A. This is case H21-317. Deborah David Architect LLC on behalf of Matthew Blasco III and Jenna, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing this, Shafsma owners. This is 251 2nd Street, block 11402, lot 2 in the Harsimus Cove Historic District. This is for a certificate of appropriateness for a full height rear addition visible from the public right of way and interior alterations of an altered contributing transitional Greek Revival townhouse with Italianate Second Empire influences, constructed circa 1860 in the Harsimus Cove Historic District.
Deb, would you like me to promote anyone else or is it just you?
I don't know whether the owners would like to be here or not. Hold on.
All right. Well, if
If they do,
you can
they'll
promote
just-
them.
they'll
Yeah.
go into the chat. So Jenna and Matt, if you want to come on, just do that, okay?
Sounds good.
Hello,
Um,
everybody.
Hello. Staff notes that Deb has previously been qualified in front of this commission many times. And Deb, we just have to swear you in.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Jenna indicated in the chat that they'd like to be sworn for testimony so we can.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. All right. So Jenna and Matt, we just have to swear you in separately.
Okay.
one at
Let's do Jenna first. If you could just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Next.
and
Raise your right
Ms.
hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. All set.
All right,
Okay,
and then state and spell your names for the records, guys, and just state that you're the owners.
Jenna Shafsma, it's spelling Jena, and then Shafsma, SCHAAFSMA.
And Matthew Blasco, Mathew, and then Blasco, BLASZKO.
Okay, thanks, guys. And I believe there's just one more item before we start testimony, Deb. We have to mark that presentation. Just because I had a couple new items.
what the presentation I sent you this afternoon?
Yeah, we didn't have it as review material, so because you're presenting it, we just have to mark it as evidence really quick.
Okay, that's fine.
Right, so Tony M will mark the presentation tonight as A1.
Yes.
All right, we should be good to go.
Yeah, I just now have to find it.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Okay, can you see it? Or we have to share screen? Oh, man. Did you, okay, share screen? Okay, everybody see what I'm seeing?
You can see now, yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry, it's like even though I do this all the time, I still mess it up. What we have here is a Greek revival. You can't really tell where all of this is because it's been covered with many layers of siding, but it, underneath everything, it's going to be a Greek revival with Italianate and Second Empire. And the Second Empire would be, of course, the mansard roof. Presently, we're only going to be talking about, well, we're only going to talk about the interior, well, not the interior, but the rear yard addition, because we have a separate application in for the front facade because we did some exploratory demo last week, which was interesting, but not conclusive yet. So we still have some more chipping away to do. So this is on the south side of the street between Erie and Marin. The side of the building is vinyl, or did we decide it was aluminum? It's a modern siding.
It's aluminum.
Okay, I go back and forth. The aluminum siding goes all the way to the side, all the way to the back, but this is also in our other application. The back of the building is lovely. It's it's a typical Jersey City backyard that we're planning on updating and upgrading. Here are the 1938 tax photo showing the little house and what it looked like in 1970. And this is just a little quick interesting thing. Back in, I couldn't find the house for the longest time, so I started looking a little closer at it and found that the streets in Jersey City were numbered differently. At Pavonia, they started south first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and one of the reasons I couldn't find the house was because it's on South 7th Street, right here. And if you look at this at the Sanborn map, okay, I'll get this together in a minute. If you look at the Sanborn map, you could see in 1866, I guess this is a Sanborn and map, and then I also have an 1866 map that shows it. And if you look right here at South 7th Street, both of those little houses were there. And they're frame houses. Okay, that's just my little fun fact for the day. In addition, what's also fun is that when this house was built, Abraham Lincoln was the president. And when I did a deep dive into trying to find out who lived there, funny enough, Charles Harrington lived there. Not our lawyer friend, but a steamboat captain or steamboat person. So that gives it a little bit more context. What we're proposing to do is stabilize and redo the entire interior of the house, take off this 2-story addition in the back and this chimney, and add a 218 square foot extension on all the floors. We have maintained our 30-foot rear yard setback, and the back building is, to promote positive drainage, is shorter than the front of the building. I don't know whether, can you guys see this whole drawing? I've been having problems with that. Here's the site plan. Right now, when I turned the drawings in, there was this lovely aluminum canopy in the front, but it was taken down last week when the guys chipped away at the front. Again, the front facade is in a separate application. We're planning on having a roof hatch with 2 condensers, one for each unit, and a nice backyard and lawn in the back. The ground floor unit will be a 1-bedroom flat with, a typical Jersey City small flat. We have some storage and furnace room that will heat the whole house and hot water. And then upstairs, there'll be a triplex with an open plan on the ground, on the parlor level, master bath and bedroom, plus a second bedroom with an adjacent bathroom. And then on the 3rd floor, office space over here, and 2 additional guest rooms. The existing back of the building, you can see, is, like I said, typical Jersey City through the years. I'm trying to get, there we go. And what we're planning on doing is, on the extension, doing a whole glass back wall, lots of light upstairs with double hung windows, and a wrought iron metal stairway. This is all metal, going down to the patio in the backyard. You access the storage room and the utility room here in back. So there we go. And then, as you can see from here, the side, I put these, even though this is not in this application, I thought I'd put this in anyway, so that you could see, the proportions and how, what we had planned for the side yards. I've included a sightline diagram, so you can see that all the appurtenances on the roof would not be able to be seen from across the street, which is the there's a church there, and then also there's I have another sightline diagram on one of the sheets that shows the view from the corner, and you still can't see the appurtenances either. My final picture right now, unless you ask me for something else, is the rendering. Here's the rendering that shows what the color scheme is and the general material layouts. And that's basically it.
Deborah, do you have a block plan that shows the entire block in context?
I do. Hold on a second. I have to go find that. Hold on one sec. Okay, be on the next page. Block plan. Right here. Let me blow it up a little bit for you. You think that this would be easy, right? To zoom around on this. Here's your block by diagram. And as you see, it's very much in keeping with the size of what else is going on in the neighborhood.
Are there any other questions for Deb about the project?
What's the, so I guess I should just ask, but the scope of work at the front facade, is that a full rehabilitation to kind of match the tax photograph?
Yeah, yes. And there's a great picture. Sarah found a great picture of the one side of the building from the 249 Second Street. So we got a good idea of the proportions of the windows and whatnot from that. And we've been digging into the brackets in the cornice, and we were surprised on the dormers that they had flat roofs and actually didn't really even have a roof. They're just totally, they're mossy and full of holes. So yes, the plan is to return it to better than its former glory in 1860.
What are you gonna, what is the western facade going to be clad in?
Well, what we'd like to do is use hardy plank, but right now we have to finish removing the whole side to see what's underneath it, because there may be evidence that there is wood clapboard there. And if we redo it, we would want to hopefully, I don't know what shape it's in. Hopefully it's not just shot through with nails, even though I pretty much think it has been. So, we have to see what the condition of that is.
And that's going to be hardy plank on the rear facade as well?
Yes, yes.
And are there any other full height additions or comparable height? I think it's 247 also a full height addition? Or do you have any photos of the block of the rear facades of any
Of the
adjacent
block?
building?
No, I don't.
Anyone else have any questions?
Are there any sightline diagrams?
There are. I showed one of them a minute ago, but I will pull up the other one. This is basically standing on the corner of Erie and 2nd Street. If you're standing on the corner, you're not going to be able to see the extension. You might from the opposite corner by the church, but I don't believe you can see it from the corner of Erie and 2nd. And here you can see where our elevation is going so far. And then this one from 2nd Street.
Beth, through the empty lot on 1st Street, is it visible through there?
The empty lot on 1st Street?
Yeah, there's one empty lot on the south side of the block.
Hold on, let me see. Right here?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that you're going to be able to necessarily see through it. And what's happening with that empty lot? I think it's going to be, I don't have let's see. Can I draw with this? No. Sorry, I can't.
One thing is we did try to see it from that empty lot, but we couldn't get access to it because it's gated. So
And locked.
we unlocked, so we couldn't get it.
I mean, if you were in the backyard of it, you would be able to see it, but
Yeah. I'd only be
otherwise.
worried about it from the public right of way, of course.
Yeah, I can't, I'm just trying to, I have a new version of PDF and it doesn't let me do stuff.
You can't really see it.
Yeah, I don't know if it really changes anything. I don't know if it's a huge deal at this point, because I don't think the existing rear facade is, I don't think there's any historic or significant value to the existing rear facade. But I do think it would be good to have confirmed that before the meeting. The only thing that concerned me slightly was the number of windows on the upper floors. I think it's more typical to have, like on the front of this building, that there's 3 bays, you're kind of putting 4 in. So there's a high void opening to void ratio. on the rear facade, so it's a lot of glass, is the only thing that maybe slightly concerned me, where maybe it would be better if it was 3 bays, but it's a little
But
hard
that's-
to know that without context for the other facades that are on that block.
It is the rear of the building, granted. And there's, we can, I would hope that there would be some latitude in, something that's not seen from the public right away. It works out this way. It works out for, a 3-bay would not work on the top floor because of the layout of the floor plan. And it was not something that we thought was going to be an issue.
Well, I don't know if that's just because you didn't think it was going to be an issue. I don't know.
No, but I mean, it's a rear facade, not seen
think-
from the public right away.
I think it's just a little hard, and I don't know if anyone else has a concern, and I'm willing to let it slide if no one else has that concern, but considering this is a full height addition, so we're already I think I'm fine with the massing of the addition. But I think, it's hard to tell without knowing what the rest of the rear facades look like. I think that's a little more typical to have a little bit less in the way on the upper floors in terms of the ratio.
You're okay with the parlor level?
Yeah, that doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
It's really on those top 2 floors where it's almost like, to me, it's a lot of for punched openings. It's a lot of openings on a rear facade to me. I'm fine with the combined window opening at the parlor, or the large one at the parlor. That's pretty typical of what we see. That doesn't bother me at all, especially on the lower floors. But if these were to have photos of other rear facades on the row, and that's a typical condition there, I wouldn't have a problem with it either. So I think it's just hard
Okay,
to
well,
tell.
I mean, I'm curious to see what others think, because
Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts?
So Brian, I'm sorry, Janelle. I
That's
also
okay, go
had an
ahead.
issue with just the number of openings in the back. It looks just very dense when you're looking at it. And like you said,
if
you
it's
typically don't see
facade.
4 openings along the rear facade. And looking in through Google and just glancing up the block, it looks like most of them have 2 or 3 window openings, and that's it. I mean, the only thing that gives me comfort is it's not visible from the public right of way.
I mean, I agree that I think that a 4-bay configuration for windows is not typical. Acknowledging it is on the back, which actually I just looked up the street view. At the moment, it is visible from First Street, but I think we can all assume that at some point in the very near future, that lot may not be empty very long, but it is visible for the time being.
Okay, so I'm not sure where you want me to go with this.
Well, I think we're still, we're still talking. I think we should probably hear from staff first, and also do any public testimony on this. But I think there could be a approval with a modification if there's enough support to reduce the number of window openings on the top 2 floors from 4 to 3. You could come back we could also take no action. You could do further study, show us other photos of other rear facades, show us what the potential visibility from First Street may or may not be through that lot. That is another option as well, but maybe we should hear staff comment first and then go from there and hear from other commissioners who haven't spoken as well.
Would you want to move to staff comment before we do open public comment? Or,
Yeah, let's, that's not necessarily typical, is it?
it's not typical, but we're not like, it's not like it's written in the bylaws that we have to do it in a specific order. If you'd prefer to hear staff comment first, I think that's fine.
I think we should just follow the normal procedure and do public comment first.
Okay.
Can we take down the drawing if we're done with that for now, so I can see everybody that's speaking? Thank you.
Okay, Deb, does that conclude your testimony for now on this?
Unless you have any other questions.
All right, that sounds good. All right, if there are any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raised hand function at the bottom of your screen. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. All right, staff sees no hands raised, so I would recommend a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion, Sankamp.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Sarah, why don't you take it away? Here, are you gonna share your screen?
I'm gonna try sharing it this time, see if it actually works.
Hold on, let me make you co-host. All right, you should be good.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip down to staff comment. Okay. So after reviewing the proposed project, staff finds the proposal is mostly consistent with the Secretary's of Interior standards for restoration and new construction, as well as the historic design standards and the rules and regulation. The proposed addition is consistent with the existing paradigm of the block, albeit further to the east on the block. The bolt matches similar patterns of buildings along this row. And staff's opinion that the project will, as proposed, will not cause an adverse effect on the character and or integrity of this Harsmith Cove Historic District. HPC staff recommends approval of a certificate of appropriateness with the following conditions. And the conditions I have as of now in the staff report are standard conditions. Up to further discussion, possibly.
Sarah, did you make a site visit? Were you able to make a site visit to the site and get into the rear yard to see the adjacent rear facades on the row?
Not to the rear yard, just to the front.
Okay.
Based on what, I mean, I didn't go from First Street, but based on what I could see from Google Maps, the rear addition doesn't appear to be visible from public right of way from First Street, because that lot looks directly onto, I forget what, I think it's 247. But again, it's hard to tell without the sight lines from First Street. But it is visible from that, partially visible from Second Street, from that lot next to it, obviously, the side.
All right, are there any other questions for staff? Okay. So we had at least 3 commissioners who voiced concern with the number of window openings on the rear facade. So
And we need 5.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we'll take a window out. I've conferenced with the owners.
Okay.
And we need to keep moving on this. So we'll make some changes to our plans and do 3 windows. On the second and third floor, Brian.
Oh yeah, only those 2 top floors separate. Yeah.
Just the top 2 floors.
Yes.
Don't make me take away that big, beautiful.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's typical of what we see.
Right.
So yeah. But I think, I mean, and this goes, I think for everyone, I think for rear facade projects, we have to make sure we have photos of adjacent buildings as well, so we know the context. I think that's really important, because I think if not, we're kind of flying blind, and like checking Google Maps is not the best way to do this. So
Understood.
well, yeah.
We'll keep adding more stuff on, and we'll get it right one.
But I think this is largely positive. So, you know, the bulk is fine, and sounds like you're doing a great job on the front facade. So, Sarah, do you maybe want, or Maggie, do you guys want to maybe add in a condition here?
Sure, you can edit.
Well, we can just read it into the record for now. If you want, Sarah. Just whatever your phrasing would be.
So it would be something like the window openings at the top 2 floors shall be reduced from 4 to 3.
I think that would work if Sarah's okay with that.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. Deb and Jenna and Matt, are you okay with that? Or do you accept that and the conditions in the staff report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so hearing the recommendation from staff to approve a certificate of appropriateness with the conditions on the staff report and read into the record, that's the recommendation from staff, if there is a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions set forth by staff. Thank you.
Second, Amatuzzo.
Right. Commissioner Amatuzzo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Commissioner Gunther.
Aye.
Hold on, just making sure I got everyone here. Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandkamp.
Aye.
And Chairman Blazak.
Aye.
All right, there are 6 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The certificate of appropriateness is approved with conditions.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
All right. Brian, why don't you go ahead and call the next application?
Okay, and I'm just noticing this on the agenda, so I'm just going to note that under new businesses, all the cases are lettered A. So this is also 9A. This is H21-402 Jeff Jordan RA on behalf of Jacques and Vanessa Dahalyoun, owners. Apologies if I mispronounced the last name again. This is 658 Jersey Avenue, block 10005, lot 38 in the Hamilton Park Historic District. This is for a certificate of appropriateness for a 2-story plus cellar rear addition with a deck, interior alterations, and site work at an altered contributing Italianate row house constructed circa 1860 in the Hamilton Park Historic District.
Great. Jeff, why don't we go ahead and swear you in?
Raise your right hand. Thanks. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, to help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
And just state and spell your name for the record, please.
Sure. It's Jeff Jordan, Jeff Jordan.
Okay. Or is it just you tonight, or the owner's coming on too?
I believe it's just myself tonight.
Sounds good. And are we marking anything?
Yeah, we're going to add a shadow study to the application.
Right. Tony, and we can mark that as B1 for this. I'm sorry, A1.
Mm-hmm.
questions. All right, and
All right.
that notes that Jeff has previously been qualified in front of this board before.
I feel like I was just here.
I think you are.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time tonight, commissioners. Always appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen if that is okay. All right. Can everyone see that all right?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. So the project tonight consists of a proposed rear yard addition. The address is 658 Jersey. We're located between 7th and 8th, just about half a block shy of Hamilton Park in the Hamilton Park Historic District. Shown before you is the block plan. This is the subject property over here. You can see there is currently actually a small rear yard addition. And then the neighbor to the north actually has a small deck and addition to the back as well. What we're proposing is the removal of the existing rear yard addition and replacement with a new rear yard addition. And I'll get into greater detail about that, but that's the overall block plan. You can see the homes along Jersey have varying depth lots. In this case, we're back to a conforming lot size for these two middle properties, including our client's property, which is allowing us to make this proposal without any additional variance request, given that we actually have full lot depth, which feels like a change for us. But so moving on, the proposed, sorry, backing up. The proposed work is almost entirely the rear yard addition. There are some renovations to the ground floor, which is a basement level, but the second, third, and fourth floors effectively will remain untouched. So I just want to explain that before I get into it. All right, so here we go. I'll take you through the plans. First plan is the cellar level. We're actually proposing, because we're not in the flood zone, building a cellar below the rear yard addition and taking advantage of that additional space for them for storage and mechanical equipment. They don't currently have any cellar or cellar space below their lowest living floor. And so this will be an asset to them in terms of additional storage space and mechanical space. Moving up, this is the basement level. This is where the majority of the work is proposed to the existing unit. You can see the floor plan here of what currently exists. This actually has been altered quite a bit through the years. There's little, if any, fabric remaining, historic fabric. And so the proposal suggests opening that space up a bit further and creating a large sort of open living dining space on this basement level, which would then open out into a rear yard patio space in the back. I should note that the proposed addition is 24 feet deep, but you can see here, this is the 30-foot rear yard setback line. So we're actually well short of that setback line. Going up one level, the first floor parlor level has, we're not proposing any work to the existing layout. What we would have would be, sorry, we're removing the addition on the back, as I noted, but the original building is staying intact. In the proposed addition, we would replace the removed space with an office, which overlooks an open area to the living floor below, living area below. So this is actually about, approximately half of that floor area, or half of that addition would be floor area on this level. At the second floor or third floor, as we go up from basement level, again, no proposed work within the existing space, but what we are showing is, in place of the small deck that they currently have, a larger roof deck over the top of the addition. The roof deck would have one of these compact pools, which is essentially a large hot tub unit type of thing, but with some resistance, so you can swim in place, do lap swimming in place. That would be installed on the roof deck. And I'll show you in section what that looks like, just to give you a better idea. And then moving up through the third floor, again, no work proposed on the third floor. We're simply showing that for reference. And at the roof, I want to point out, we are moving existing mechanical equipment that is currently located along the side of the building on the basement level, adjacent to the addition, facing the neighbor to the south. We're moving that equipment up to the roof to get it away from the neighbor and out of the way of the addition. This building is, I'm sure you guys recognize this row of buildings. It's one of the ones with the original cast iron, wrought iron work on the front. We're not proposing any changes to the front of the building. It will remain untouched. Again, the focus is on the back. The existing rear yard addition and deck structure above that would be removed and replaced with also a two-story addition. In this case, you could start to see where the pool would be happening. We're proposing a taller kind of parapet around the roof deck to conceal the pool. The materials in the back currently are plaster. Stucco, and we're just going to continue with that theme. So the back of the building would remain stucco, and then the proposed addition would be also clad in stucco, a dark kind of blue-gray color for the addition, and then keeping with that sort of white creamy color that you can kind of see in that photo there on the original building. This is the elevation, the west elevation, so the neighbor to the south. Again, the side of the structure would be clad in stucco. You can start to see here dashed in where the pool area is. There would be a guardrail kind of poking up above that, just for safety purposes around the pool, but the pool itself would be concealed behind the parapet. Same idea to the neighbor to the north of the east elevation. In section, I think this starts to become a little bit more clear. Again, nothing is being done on the first, second, or third floors of the building. The focus of the work is on the basement level, and then again, the addition with the cellar in the back. An additional section for you and some additional details. So one thing I want to point out, and I alluded to this in the beginning, was the shadow study. So I spoke with the neighbors to the north and south are actually Dixon Leasing, and I spoke with one of their attorneys today. They had some concerns about the proposed addition and its impact on the neighboring buildings, since they own both of those buildings. And they asked if we would put together a shadow study indicating the impact of that rear yard addition. So I want to take you through that quickly. This is on the winter solstice. So the sun is lowest in the sky. You get the longest shadows. So as we go down, we're going 8 o'clock in the morning. So there's a little bit of shadow impact on the back of the building to the north. And then as we go through the day, the shadow swings around, right? As the sun comes around, the buildings actually become the thing that blocks all the backyards by 4 p.m. So that's December. That's kind of the worst case scenario because the sun is the lowest in the sky. Here we're showing March 21st, the equinox, same as September 21st. And 8 a.m. the sun is actually more or less straight on this time of year. And so there's little to no shadow north or south. And then again, as the sun swings around in the sky, you start to see the shadows creeping around to the north side. You do notice here that because they have a deck on the back of their building, a part of that is still in the sun, and most of the backyard is in the sun, but there is some blockage from the structure. And then again, in the afternoon, everything's blocked by the row of buildings itself. And then finally, the summer solstice, the sun is highest in the sky. When it rises in the morning, it's actually kind of in the northeast. And so we're getting a little bit of shadow on the building to the south. By the time we reach noon, there's a little bit of shadow on the adjacent deck and backyard. And then again, in the afternoon, the sun is swung around and the buildings are casting shadows on the backyard. So I wanted to include that. They understood that there would be shadows. I think they just want to understand the magnitude of that. The other thing that they pointed out, and this became a condition in the staff comments, was concern about construction and access to the yards, and having an agreement between the owner of 658 and Dixon Leasing regarding access and insurance and that sort of thing. And so Maggie, I believe, will go over that, but that was part of our conversation. And the third thing was the pool. They were concerned about the pool, noise from the pool unit. I reached out to the pool manufacturer to try and get some data on decibel levels. And they don't have that data, but they did tell me is that the units are typically quieter than the average air conditioning unit as a point of reference. And in this case, because it will be surrounded with the parapet walls on the 3 sides, that'll add additional sound attenuation. And they offered that one further measure that could be taken with a unit like that is because the pump equipment happens within the overall pool unit, there's the ability to add additional insulation within the unit itself for further sound attenuation. So the impression I got from them and relayed to the attorney for Dixon was that sound from the pool should be of little concern. And again, we are moving the condensing units that are currently located at grade level up to the roof. So those were their 3 concerns. And sorry, one thing I did want to point out while we're looking at the shadow map here, our client currently has quite large bamboo growing. I'm going to try and take you back to that image. And their backyard is essentially a giant bamboo garden. And so you can see in this image here, they actually have very tall bamboo. It's taller than their existing addition by quite a bit, lining the 2 sides. And so the proposed addition is actually going to be lower than the bamboo, and it's going to require the removal of the bamboo to be built. So while there is an impact from a shadow standpoint, of course, with an addition, in this case, it actually seems like it may be less than the current situation with the bamboo. So anyhow, those were the concerns that were raised. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is the shadow study in the record yet?
We entered it as evidence prior to the applicant's testimony. Are there any other questions from commissioners?
How much further does this go back than the existing addition or the and then compared to the 2 adjacent buildings?
So by point of reference, the existing addition goes out more or less the exact distance of the addition to the north. And the proposed addition would go an additional 10 feet beyond that.
Is the addition much higher than the current addition?
It's a few feet higher because of the taller parapet wall that we're proposing. But the current one's 2 stories and the proposed one's 2 stories.
Okay.
I have one question for you, Jeff. Is this visible from the 8th Street public right-of-way through the backyards of the houses, you know, across? The frontage is actually Jersey Avenue, but through the north side of Jersey Avenue, can you see the addition through the back of the house, through the yard space?
Good question, Commissioner. Maggie had the same question. We actually went back out and double checked and took photos. They are included on the sheet I sent with the, I believe with the block plan, showing the view from both 8th and 7th, if I have the numbers right. As far as we could tell, it is not visible from either.
Okay.
Would you be able to share that quickly?
Absolutely. Yep, so numbers 1 and 2, these pictures here are taken from 7th Street. So actually this is, you know, the bulk of this view is the garage for the property here on the corner. And then from 8th Street are these photos here. So it's a combination of fence, trees, and we couldn't tell what was going on behind there. It looks like there may have been a small shed structure or something in the back of that corner unit. But again, as far as we could tell, we couldn't get a line to the existing addition. And so we're, you know, based on that, we're assuming that the proposed addition will be more or less not visible because we can't see the current addition.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
And then what about from 8th, because because there's no obstruction on that part of 8th Street, right?
Up here.
It's going to be, yeah.
Yeah. So
gonna-
the block plan doesn't show any additions or obstructions built in the back, with the exception of the small one immediately north. The photographs, however, there's a fence and trees, which I understand may be treated differently than a building in terms of an obstruction, but because of those, we can't tell what else is going on back there. We can't see it, so.
And it's at least 6 lots in
Correct.
A Street, so
Correct.
it's theoretically possible, but it might be obscured. And what's that north? What are the side elevations on your proposed addition?
Materially?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be stucco as well.
Okay.
We're proposing, I should have mentioned it, the CMU, a masonry block structure on all 3 sides for fire purposes, structural purposes, and then that'll be clad in stucco. So it's a more or less a maintenance-free material for the north and south.
And that addition just to the north is also 2 stories?
That addition is, as far as I can tell, and again, it's hard because our neighbor's yard is so dense with vegetation. But as far as I can tell, there's a 1-story structure covered with a roof deck. So it's not a full 2 stories, it's a partial deck. And so in those shadow studies, you can start to see it kind of poking out there, but it's not coming up quite as high as our structure, because it's not doesn't have that 2nd story.
And the other thing maybe you should note, and I don't know if you noted this, but this building and everything to the south is set a little further in from the street, right? As compared to the north.
Yeah, you've got it exactly right. So you can see that here. It's actually set back. I think it was 3 or 4 feet, 3.5 feet. So there you go.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Can you speak a little bit about the guardrail surrounding the pool and what safety measures are in place to prevent children from getting access?
That's a great question. So two parts. The guardrail around the pool is being proposed as a simple metal, vertical rail, simple metal kind of guard, meeting the building code requirements for height for such. The access to the pool itself, the unit has a retractable cover. And then further, it's only accessed via the doors from the primary suite on that level. And so there's no public access to it. You'd have to go through the parent's bedroom to get to it. We haven't gotten to the point where the building department's reviewed this yet, whether or not they may require that door be locking, both internally and externally. But yeah, the idea is that when you're out there, you have the safety of the guardrail. When you're actually up on that, the pool is such that it's kind of built out to the parapet more or less. So there's not a lot of room to stand around it. But for some reason, if somebody should get up on that little bit of ledge, there's a guardrail there to protect someone from falling over. And then access would be limited. In their case, their children are older, and so it's not an issue for them, but for a future owner, locking door may make sense and may be a requirement.
When you're talking about the parapet, is that 6-foot wooden fence? Is that surrounding it on all sides?
No, sorry, I'll share it again. Keep taking it down. I'm trying to be sensitive to the court reporter here.
Thank you.
So the parapet here shown in plan, right? And then the pool, you can see there's actually limited access to the edges, except for this one side where you access the pool. That's also where the equipment and the cover roll out. But if we go to the section drawing here, you can see here that it's right. So the parapet comes up and it conceals the pool, and then you can see the parapet here. The wood fence is this element down here at the basement level. Right. So the parapet and then the guardrail.
I see. Thank you.
Yep.
And I had one follow-up question. I knew you're talking about like a future owner, and my question is on like the reversibility, I guess, of the pool. Like, let's say a future owner or even the current owners decide that they no longer want the pool there. Is it easily like removable from the roof? Is it, what would that entail if in the future, the current owner or the future owner wanted to remove the pool and let's just say do a roof deck there?
Sure. Yeah. Another good question, another one that Maggie raised in her initial comments to us, was how does this pool get to the back roof deck, right? Like, you start there. The pool actually comes on a pallet, and it's a series of pieces that are designed to be carried through the house, fit through a 3-foot wide door. So, ostensibly, if you can get it in that way, you could drain it and take it back out that way. It's a good question, but yeah, it doesn't require the use of a crane or any kind of extraordinary effort. It can be done supposedly carried through a door. I wouldn't want to be the one doing that, but that's how they advertise it.
Any other questions? All right. Jeff, does that conclude your testimony?
That does. Thank you.
No problem. All right, so we can move to public comment on this. If there are any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, you can press *9 on your phone. All right, staff sees no hands raised, so I would recommend a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion to open and close.
Sandcamp, second.
Public comment.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we'll move into staff comments. Pull up the staff report. All right, so as usual, we're skipping right down to staff comments and recommendations. So a lot of staff concerns or comments in theory in general were raised during commissioner questions, so I'll try to be brief here. The primary staff concern is that it is a larger addition comparatively to what the existing paradigm of the row is. They certainly have room for it. They're not even close to the 30-foot rear yard, so we don't have an issue with that. And it does the other buildings have additions. This building has an addition, but it is larger than the other ones. We don't think that there's going to be an adverse effect on the character or integrity of the historic resource or the building itself, but we did just want to make sure that was raised and that the commission felt comfortable with it. As Jeff alluded to, we got some correspondence from the applicant, the homeowners, and the surrounding property owners today regarding some concerns they had for the project. Those are reflected in the first condition of the staff report, which I'll read into the record in a moment. But for the most part, staff really doesn't have a ton of concerns about this. We are recommending approval of the COA. So we have our standard conditions with two kind of amendments to them. The first is that the homeowner and surrounding property condition, which is just to memorialize that the applicant agreed to enter into a written agreement with the owner of the adjacent properties to make sure that those buildings are secured and not damaged during construction, that their tenants are safe, and that all of the construction concerns are addressed to properly preserve the adjacent properties and their occupants. And there is also the indication here that they will supply a shadow study, which they have done. So staff is halfway satisfied with that condition, and the rest is just to memorialize that that is in effect. The second one that we have on here is we did amend the visibility condition. We just included the rooftop equipment. The applicant stated that it's not visible, so as long as it remains not visible, we're fine with that. Other than that, they are standard conditions, as well as we provided the two things that are available for citations if the commission did feel that the addition was too large. Doesn't seem like it, so I don't think we'll need them.
I have a concern about the third item or the third condition, because when I asked Jeff about the possible visibility from 8th Street, considering that it's deeper and taller than the addition to the north. I think it is potentially minimally visible from 8th Street.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to be, if it's visible from the public right of way, this approval shall be null and void. I mean, I think if you really stand there and look for it, you're going to find it.
Okay.
And just to be clear, I didn't, and that's why I asked. It's deeper than the one to the north. I don't necessarily have a problem with that because I think it's going to be minimally visible. It is at least like, as I said, there's at least 6 lots in between the two, but I think it is potentially visible from that location.
Okay, so I mean, I essentially put that on there because this application was brought to us as if it's not visible. If we're going on the assumption that it is visible, that's fine. We can remove the null and void language from there, or even strike that condition as a whole, whichever you're more comfortable with. It's just that the ordinance differentiates between additions that are visible and are not visible. So
do you think the 7th Street facade is more, the view from 7th Street is more important because it's potentially more visible over that garage?
I mean, I think they're both equally important.
Okay.
Because for what it's worth, they're both secondary facade, like secondary viewpoints as well. It's more, I don't think either one of them is going to have an adverse effect on the historic district. The only one that might have an adverse effect on the historic district is if you can see the railings for the HVAC equipment over the front of the building from Jersey, which I don't think you can.
You can't. So I'm just saying, I think if I think you're going to see it from 8th Street, albeit you're really going to have to look for it. That's all I'm saying. So I think that might be too
harsh.
Yes.
Okay. Do we want to, okay. How about we remove the null and void language and make that essentially like how we handle deviations normally, which is for what it's worth. If it is visible, the architect just puts in writing that it is visible.
Yeah, and on a signed and sealed letter, he documents the visibility, and it should be no more than minimally visible from any public thoroughfare.
I don't feel comfortable saying any public thoroughfare. I would feel comfortable doing 7th and 8th Street, just not Jersey, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
Okay. All right.
If the addition is visible from Jersey Avenue, there's going to be a big problem.
Well, yeah, no, I know. Just want to be as specific as possible. All right. Anyone else have any other questions, comments, anything like that?
Following up on that, so then it's staff that makes a determination of whether the visibility is minimal.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
And again, for what if that would be minimal would, I mean, like if this thing is like substantially visible, it would come back. Or if you could see it from Jersey, it would come back. If you can see it from an oblique perspective, if you tilt your head like this on 7th, it's not going to come back. Just to put that in, what that means. Okay. Anyone have any other questions? All right. Jeff, are you okay with that revision to condition 3 as read into the record?
I am okay with it, and I appreciate the clarification, Brian.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Well, then on this application, the recommendation from staff is to approve the certificate of appropriateness as written with conditions as written in the staff report and read into the record.
Motion to approve with the conditions.
Second.
All right, we'll move to a roll call vote. Commissioner Gunther.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Sorry. Commissioner Amatuzzo.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandkamp.
Aye.
And Chairman Blazak.
Aye.
All right, there are 6 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The certificate of appropriateness is granted.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Jeff.
Take care.
All right. Looks like we're coming. Tony Ann, are you doing okay?
Fine, keep going.
All right. Then looks like we're on our last one for the night, guys.
So we have, again, it's 9A, case H21-437. This is Dario Brito, owner. This is 164.5 Cole Street, block 1002, lot 21 in the Hamilton Park Historic District. This is for a certificate of appropriateness for a full height rear yard addition, interior alterations, and associated site work at 164.5 Cole Street, an altered contributing circa 1870 Italianate row house in the Hamilton Park Historic District. And this is a recommendation to the Jersey City Zoning Board of Adjustment.
All right. Can you see? Okay, Jensen, you should be good to go. If you could just raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Oh, Jensen, you're on mute. Jensen, you're still muted.
Still muted.
My first name is Jensen, Jensen. Last name Vasil, V as in Victor, ASIL.
Okay. And I'm sorry, it looks like I completely missed James Burke as well. But he doesn't need to be sworn, so that's okay. And staff notes, Jensen has been previously qualified in front of this board many times.
Correct. I'm the architect for 164.5 Cole Street. The owners for this project are proposing to do a interior alteration of all 3 stories plus the basement, as well as a 3-story rear addition. The rear addition would be 2 stories to maximum lot coverage of 60%, and then a 3rd floor that only projects 3 feet from the adjacent buildings. The interior configuration would be completely changed from what it is. They are keeping the stair configuration on the interior of the building, but other than that, the rooms and room layout and whatnot is all changed.
Okay. I'm sorry, Jensen, do you want to share your screen or anything like that? I made you co-host if you would like to.
Sure.
And James, do you want to do it? Are we doing an application introduction or are we just?
No, just good evening all. I'm here because we are going to proceed to the zoning board. So it was thought we should, I'm going to listen a lot more than I speak, just so we have a good feeling for your input when we go before the zoning board. So thank you.
All right. Take it away, guys. Sorry for the interruption there.
Yeah, no worries. So the building is a mid-block lot. It's 12.5 feet wide by 65 feet deep. The front yard is it has an existing 4.5 foot front yard. As I mentioned before, the proposed addition would be conforming, but due to the non-conforming lot depth, the rear yard is non-conforming. So therefore we are requiring a variance. It does project beyond the line of the adjacent buildings that are directly adjacent to it. However, there are additions within the donut that are typical of that same block. The rear is, as here you can see, this is the existing building. It's in the same line as the 2 adjacent neighbors. We are not doing anything to the front facade. The front facade would remain as is. And then we have the interior layout would all be reconfigured. The addition cannot be seen from any public right of way. So it's completely inside, concealed by the adjacent buildings, and there would be a balcony from the 2nd floor to the rear yard. The garden floor would exit directly out to the rear yard, And the rear yard would be a combination of impervious and planted area, which is conforming to the zoning regulations for pervious coverage. As I mentioned prior, the top floor is set back, the third floor. So there'd be a small roof deck off the master bedroom that would go out to a small deck off of over the 2-story addition. The rear of the building would be a brick facade, which would be a dark gray, 2 stories first, with large doors and windows that would go out to the balcony and also the deck up at the 3rd floor. And then a set of stairs from the 2nd floor to the rear yard. The brick is, as I mentioned, a dark gray brick. The sides would be a Virock cement board panel. And enclosing the rear yard would be a cedar fence. The railings at the 2nd and 3rd floors would be an aluminum railing. The pavers at the back would be a bluestone paver set in gravel stone, and then an open planter bed, which could be planted with seasonal plants. The windows at the rear would be a clad window, a wood clad window. And all the equipment would not be able to be seen from the front or rear. Yeah, that's essentially it's a very small addition. It's quite a small lot, so the addition seems to be projects quite a bit from the 2 adjacent neighbors, but at the same time, the lot coverage is conforming. We only have an issue because of the existing front yard.
Jensen, because you're saying the front yard, the building's set back, so therefore there's a bigger front yard?
Correct. So if you look at the block diagram, you can see that the rest of the buildings on the block are at the lot line. Ours and the neighbors are set back 4.5 feet. So 60%, if we had brought the building, if the building happened to be at the front lot line, there'd be no issue.
Okay.
Do any commissioners have any questions for Jensen?
How deep is the rear yard going to be?
It's going to be 21 foot 4.5 inches. The existing rear yard is 29 foot 8.5 inches, so it's already non-conforming.
And how deep is the lot itself again?
65 feet.
So proportionally, it's about the same as if it were a 100-foot conforming 100-foot yard. That would be about an additional third. So am I doing math right?
If you did 30%, it would be fine.
Okay. The one thing, can you go back to the rear facades of?
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about rear facades today. And actually maybe the last existing conditions. Or the photographs, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I just think it's kind of a shame that you're completely taking down the rear wall on the top floor for only 3 feet. I think that seems like a lot of work for minimal kind of gain. I know it is an undersized lot, but 3 feet seems is just a small amount for that gain to completely rebuild that. Was there ever any thought to just dropping that sill, turning that into a door, and just using and doing that as a roof deck from there instead of completely obliterating the rear facade?
There was, I think the existing stair and the placement of the existing stair inside dictated quite a bit of that. And also maintaining the rear facade means putting a new steel beam underneath it, supporting it while it's being demolished underneath. It's quite a bit of work to maintain it. Making a substandard room down below. So there was a bit of thought that was given to both options, and the owner ultimately chose this option.
And then can you talk a little bit about your the brick at the rear facade? It's a dark brick, you said?
Yes, so it's a dark gray brick. It was meant to differentiate between what's there now. So right now you see a very weathered gray brick, which is consistent with the buildings of that age. We felt like the dark gray was a sort of a way to transition between the original material and make it stand out and not seem like it was not do historic replication. So the dark gray would be a deviation from that. At one point we looked at aluminum panels, we looked at doing VIROC across the entire back, but we ultimately ended up on brick, feeling like that was as I said, it's consistent with the block, with the rear materials, but a different color to differentiate.
And the panels at the side are cement board, you said? Again, a
Correct.
dark finish?
So
Black?
they're light. They're going to be a light gray.
Yeah.
Or I guess a medium gray. That was, as I mentioned, the original, probably the back material. We felt it was an upgrade over traditional cement stucco, and more desirable than a blank stucco wall.
So I think something that maybe we should talk about as a commission as well is about the differentiation. I mean, that is a valid argument that Jensen makes. I think there are different ways to go about that. I think looking in context with the other buildings, we should keep that in mind as well, even though this is not going to be seen from anywhere, right?
Correct. Yes.
We should still take that into consideration if this is appropriate choice. I think there's different ways to go. I mean, I think even if this were to be a red brick, this would be very clearly be a very modern looking interpretation of a rear facade with the larger window openings. And what would the lintel and sill materials be? Like a cast stone, probably?
Cast stone, correct.
Would that be dark color as well?
It would be more towards the medium gray. So there would be some differentiation in color. Yes.
So, I mean, even if this were to be a more warmer color, both the brick and the cast stone, I think it still would be, differentiates itself by being of modern construction. And it might fit in a little bit better with the neighboring buildings. Does anyone else have any thoughts? I'm doing a lot of talking tonight.
Yeah, I kind of think that we are coming across the same issue here that we had on our last case, where we're going from a single window in the rear of the facade to a lot of glass. We now go to 3 windows across the facade on all 3 levels, which appear to be ceiling to floor, almost like doors. So I don't know how that relates. It doesn't seem to relate to the rear facades of any of the neighboring buildings. And we just made the previous applicant reduce how many windows they had for the same reason. So I kind of have an issue with how much glass is there. I have an issue with the dark gray brick as a material. I feel that it's going to be imposing to the people who are facing it. And I don't feel that it's in rhythm with the existing rear facades. You could see to the left, 2 houses to the left of the house we're talking about. That is also new construction, which has a gray facade. And I just think it relates better to the whole interior donut with grays and beiges and red brick. I don't see where the gray brick, dark gray brick fits in at all. I feel it's going to be way imposing on anyone facing it.
I mean, I agree with that. I don't necessarily have a problem with the 3 windows, even on 3 floors. I guess because I think the choice to go with masonry is the right choice here, as opposed to like a stucco or something cementitious. Maybe they could be downsized a little bit so that there was a little more solid. But I do agree that like maybe materially doesn't need to be differentiated, because the design and the volume already is going to set it apart from the other 3 small row houses.
I just had a quick question. What is the width of the rear of the building, or just the width of the building?
12.5 feet.
12.5 feet?
Correct.
Yeah, in my opinion, that's an awful lot of openings in the 12.5 foot wide facade.
I think I agree with that.
I think 2 windows would be more than sufficient in that space than 3. And I feel pretty strongly about that.
I would obviously have to talk to the client, but the other question would be, would 2 windows together be more appetizing as versus 2 punched openings?
I mean, I think that would be an alternate.
Yeah.
It's a very narrow row house. I used to have a 14-foot row house, and so I really don't necessarily, it's misleading. I think the elevation is pretty well done with the 3. It's a little bit maybe over, the windows are maybe slightly larger than they could be, but I guess, are they doors or are they only windows?
Some are windows, some are doors.
Is that what's sort of driving the?
Oh, go ahead.
I guess my question was, is that what's sort of driving the width of them, that some of them are doors?
Yeah, correct. So 2'8" is the minimum egress door. So the ones that are doors are 2'8", and then the middle was to match that. That's, I mean, again, I could certainly confer with the client about reducing it to 2. I think 2 makes 12.5 feet with 2 punched openings. I wonder, it's up to the client ultimately, but I think the 2 together, the 2 windows together, much like the building of next door and to the right and to 2 doors down, could be. It just gives a little bit of a greater feeling of glass all in one opening.
it definitely relates to the neighboring buildings more, having two windows together, but I am also not opposed to having two separate punched holes where one is a door and one is a ceiling to floor window. That does not bother me. I'm not opposed to that either, as there are probably other houses neighboring across the yards that just have two windows, you know, on their facade, singular of each other and not conjoined. So I'm good either way, as long as it's not three windows. I just think that's too many.
Got it.
Here's a question. What if, and again, I'm just throwing this out there, but my opinion is I still maybe want to try to keep that top floor if possible. Personally, I would be okay with three windows on the bottom, on the two floors, if that top floor was kept and that opening was turned into a door. Just throwing that out there.
Got it.
I don't know if the commissioners find that to be acceptable, but I think that would change my opinion of the addition if there were efforts made to keep that top floor, even if it's, and I know it's a lot of work if you're blowing out the rear wall and you have to put a steel beam, you might have to rebuild that anyway, but I think that would be a very positive thing if that could be kept.
I'll mention that I did get an answer from the owner that red brick is fine, so we certainly can make an amendment on that. If you can give me a few minutes, I'll can make sure that the top of the building, if we can make additions or amendments there, that we might be able to address your concerns.
Okay, do you guys want to take a quick break then while Jensen discusses with the owner?
Sure, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back. It's 8:16. We'll come back at 8:21 or so.
Cool. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so it's 8:24. We can call the meeting back to order.
Okay. So we're still in commissioner comment. I just want to make that known, but Jensen, if you want to report back on.
So based on conversations with the owner, who's happens to also be an architect, but they would like, they're fine with the brick color. They're fine with doing the either two windows together or two separate windows, although they'd prefer to maximize the glass. So I think that two windows together might be able to give them more surface area, but we are flexible on that point, whatever the commission suggests. However, on the top floor, the 3 feet really, because of what they have to do they have to rebuild that wall anyways. They have to put the steel underneath it. They would strenuously suggest that they would like the 3 feet at the top floor because it makes a huge difference to that top floor room. And since it's not viewed from the public right of way, they feel like that's an important point, that they're not building out to 60% at all 3 floors. They are having some restraint at the top floor. So they're obviously still listening to commission's suggestions and opinions, but they would like to make that known.
Jensen, why don't you describe, if you didn't do the 3 feet, a little more detail on what that means for the room.
Yeah, so the room itself would be it's 16'9", including the walk-in closet. The room would end up being about 10 feet from the closet to the back wall. So it is pretty diminutive for a master bedroom. They obviously are taking up the, but it's not again, the effort to keep that wall is quite substantial. And we've already done a clean out on the building, and the brick's not in great shape either. So it would be literally rebuilding that wall. So we feel like if we reuse the brick, we could reuse the brick 3 feet back. That would be another alternative, but it's not like the brick is in great shape and we're saving it.
Anyone have any thoughts?
Brian, I have a question just for you about this. Is it the plane of the rear facade on the top floor that's important, or is it the opening itself? I mean, also the opening itself.
Jensen, would you mind going, since you're still controlling the screen, would you mind going back to that?
Yeah.
Is it the plane or the existing? I think it's sheet 2.
I got it.
Thanks. Is it the plane or the one opening? For me, I don't, I think it's the fact that it's the same plane and you have the one building to the left that's also the same. I mean, it's not like it's part of an entire row. It's just 2 buildings that are the same. It's not like it's, 10 buildings. And it's not visible from the public right of way. I guess if it's acceptable to others to, those changes that Jensen described, I'd be okay if everyone else was on board with the provision to reduce the openings from 3 to 2. But I mean, I still think 3 feet is a very small amount. I almost wish it were, I shouldn't say this, I almost wish it were 10 feet deeper. It would make more sense to me than just 3 feet. 3 feet is small. But I would, if other commissioners are okay, I would go along with it if they're fine with the reduction in the size of the window openings or the number of window openings.
I'm okay with the 3 feet on the top floor bump out. I just, Jensen, maybe you can clarify if the 2 windows are next to each other, then obviously one would be a door and the other one would be a window unit. It would not be like a sliding glass, like a 6-foot slider, say. You're gonna put 2 separate units that are next to each other, one being a door, one being a window.
Well,
it would unclear.
It would most likely be a slider unit because they would be going out to a balcony on the 3rd floor and or a balcony on the 2nd floor and a lower roof deck on the 3rd floor.
Okay, so it would be like what, a standard 6-foot slider?
Correct.
Would be the okay.
That's
correct. I
correct.
just wanted to clarify what you had in mind, whether it was going to be a door that swung out or swung in, or how that was going to work out if they were next to each other.
Just given the interior dimension that it's so small, I feel like the slider saves space.
Okay.
And for the record, I know I think that this scheme that Jensen has come in with is fine. And I think the difference between this and the one that we heard at the beginning of the night is that these openings are broken down with the Muntin pattern that's showing on the proposed rear addition. I think it breaks it down in a way that that building on, what was it, 2nd Street didn't do. And that this is also brick, and these kind of read as like piers at the exterior. So I don't necessarily have a problem with these 3 openings, but I think and I don't know, if we're looking at a sliding 6-foot door opening, we're looking at a very different project. Like, how is that going to read? How is that going to break down? I guess I would also kind of read as piers as well, but will there be one cast stone lintel across there, you know, might really change our perception of the whole addition here.
I mean, I'm going to reiterate that I, upon first seeing this, I was reminded of the project on Second Street, but I have a different reaction to this because I do think the proportions are good. I don't think it looks overly glazed. And then to be reminded that this is a very narrow building, kind of like, it's surprising because I think the proportions it works for a lot of different reasons. But I know some commissioners disagree about the number of openings.
I just feel like we needed to be consistent.
Yeah, I think
That if, to me, if 4 openings was too much on a 16-foot wide house, how are 3 openings okay on a 12-foot wide house? It's just not making sense to me in that wording, but I get the flow for the 3 openings. I almost want to say I would prefer not to have sliding glass doors because it does change the whole perception of the addition. I would prefer to see 2 separate openings that were, not so narrow maybe, or as wide as the windows seem to be pretty wide. The existing windows seem to be like 3-foot wide windows. I don't know that that is the case, but I'm kind of in agreement that I don't know that the sliders are the right application either.
Yeah, I think that to me, the most important thing is a red brick, and we should also discuss the panels on the side should probably also be of a warmer color, obviously, as well.
Well, I'll just share my opinion, which is really that I don't have much of an opinion. I mean, this is a rear facade. There's no visibility from any public right of way. And we're conceding that we're not really concerned about any loss of historic fabric, material, or design. So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to my fellow commissioners share very informed opinions on design choices. My personal feeling is that, again, it's not visible and we're letting the historic fabric go. And I don't see the need to scrutinize the proposed new structure. So wherever we land on this.
All right, I don't know who just said that because I couldn't see you.
Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you.
I'm going to chime in finally. I agree with Commissioner Gordon. I don't take issue with the current proposed. And I think we are being consistent in that in both instances, we asked the applicant to consider cutting down the number of fenestrations on the rear facade. Though this one is completely, as Robert Gordon just said, not visible from the public right of way. And from my own experience in this commission, and from my own backyard, on both sides of me, both buildings have no back. It's all glass. And so this commission has permitted very modern interpretations where the public right of way wasn't an issue. And that's what this is. I would say for my take on it is when there is no public right of way visibility, it can be modern. And I feel like this is perfectly fits within that. The material, he's gone to that extra extent to use brick masonry, and I applaud that. And I think if I was looking out, like Commissioner Amatuso said, he wouldn't like to see, I think, sliding doors. I would rather see this. So I would, I'd like to hear what our historic specialists have to say about it, but I'm okay with it as is.
Do we want to move to public comment and staff comment?
Can we maybe take down the visual for me? Thank you.
And by the way, Tony, there is a way to drag the thing over where you could
Yeah. I can only see about 6 people at a time. So if that one of those 6 people are not talking, I'm fumbling, trying to figure out who it is. Thank you.
All right, so do we want to move to public comment and then staff comment? Because we can continue discussion in staff comment. The applicant just can't enter new information unless, I mean, like, or at least new documents. That's essentially the difference.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, Jensen and James, does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, it does.
Does, yes.
Great, thank you. Are there any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak regarding this application? Please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. Okay, staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion to open and close public comment.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Lewis, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So
Aye.
let's go to the staff report. I need to pull up. However, I can certainly start summarizing. So when reviewing this application, staff took a, I'll say, a similar approach to the rear design that Robert and Tony described, in that it wasn't visible from the public right of way. So we mostly allowed the applicant to, or not recommended per se, but like took into fact the consideration that you cannot see it from the street. So we allowed them to submit a more modern interpretation of a rear yard. We focused more on the bulk and size of the rear yard addition and the variances required for this application. As a reminder, this does require review and approval by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So the rear yard addition, while it does compromise that rear yard setback, if this was a conforming lot, it would, that size addition would be perfectly reasonable. And the way we've looked at some of these in the past is on an undersized lot, we've requested that the additions be proportional. So in this case, since it's a 65-foot deep lot, a 20-foot rear yard is proportional in the sense that that's consistent with what a 30-foot rear yard would be on a 100-foot lot. So in staff's opinion, the project as proposed is not going to cause an adverse effect on the character or integrity of the historic district or the historic resource. And we do recommend a certificate of appropriateness and a recommendation to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for approval with the following conditions. Bless you. We do have our standard conditions from number 3 on. And then number 1 is it's a somewhat standard condition. I know it was mentioned earlier that there's no work proposed to the front. There is a small bit of work proposed to the front for a relocation of the electrical service, which is fine. But in the standard condition for that, of course, is that the conduit should be finished to visually blend with the front facade. And we do have a condition in here that the proposed fence shall be installed as a good neighbor fence. So the nicer side of the fence facing their neighbors. Other than that, we have standard conditions proposed. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Actually, before we go to standard questions for staff. So I was jotting down, of course, the items that were brought up in terms of, to discuss in terms of whether or not it's appropriate for the building. I have no problem with red brick for the rear of the building. I agree with the comments that the proposed addition is modern enough. No one's going to think that it's historic. Red brick is fine. The applicant is proposing to keep the wall nubs. So there is a record of where that rear wall used to be throughout the entire floor. So if they want to use red brick, they can use red brick. It's different enough. I'm also in agreement that if it's going to be changed to red brick, they also probably shouldn't be doing a gray stucco on the sides. I would recommend that stucco visually match the mortar on the red brick, which we would propose to be that kind of standard historic cream color. I think that would probably be the most appropriate way. Of course, we can I'm comfortable working that out on a staff level. In terms of the openings in the back, I really don't think I have much of an issue with the 3, only because it is proportional. However, if we went down to 2, staff would recommend that the 2 match the same proportions as the buildings adjacent to this one. I wouldn't really recommend a slider go in there. If we're going down to 2, I would imagine that the right side door, if you're looking at the facade dead on, the right side would have the operable door, and then the left-hand side, where we'd be going down to one larger opening, would be a window that reflects the adjacent buildings. That's what in my professional opinion, what I think would be the most appropriate way to resolve that. But of course, willing to talk this one out if we think it's necessary.
So I think there were at least 4 commissioners that said that they were okay. Myself, Robert, Tony, and Janelle, I think are okay. They've come around on being okay with the existing 3 window pattern. I don't, maybe we can check in with Commissioner Lewis.
I'm
not
also
sure.
okay.
You're okay with it? Okay, so we do have 5.
I'm okay with it too, Brian. I mean, I just, I like to voice my opinion, but I'm not going to be the fly in the ointment to stop someone from getting their project done when everybody else is on board.
Okay.
It doesn't serve any purpose, really.
Okay. So I think, the big thing is the red brick and cream watercolor and the cream panels at the side. So I think we could have a motion for an approval with the conditions as read by staff. I'll make that motion now.
Is there a second?
Second, Gordon.
Okay. James and Jensen, does your client accept those conditions as written in the staff report and as read into the record?
They do.
Yes, he does.
Awesome. All right, we'll move to a roll call vote. Commissioner Gordon,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Gunther,
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuzzo,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandkamp,
Aye.
and Chairman Blazak.
Aye.
All right, there are 6 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The certificate of appropriateness with conditions and recommendation for approval to the zoning board is granted.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
I wish the US Congress worked as friendly as you guys do.
We appreciate that. All right, have a nice night, guys.
All right, good night.
Thanks,
all.
you too.
All right.
First for a compliment.
Yeah.
So any updates on any tabled cases?
The Warren Street project is coming to us in December. They did not meet the completion deadline for this meeting.
Do we need anything else? Any introduction and discussion of resolutions or memorialization of resolutions?
Nope.
No,
We'll have a couple of resolutions next meeting for some year-end stuff, but none for this meeting.
And we don't need executive session, do we?
No.
Did we decide, I know, I may have spaced on this, but the best night for a happy hour, we decided was when?
Can we adjourn the meeting and then discuss that?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay.
So it is 8:46 p.m.
Okay.
It has ended. We have make a motion to end the meeting.
Motion.
I motion to adjourn. Second, thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.